What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're going to be taking a look at Die Hard 2: Die Harder. To me, Die Hard 2 is a very, very underrated movie and a very underrated sequel. I think it gets a little too much hatred because I don't see what's to hate about it. It's a good fucking movie. I love Die Hard 2. Now, people like to say it's a blatant copy of the original movie. And I argue yes and no at the same time. Do both movies take place around Christmas Eve? Yes, they do. Do both movies involve John McClane taking down, highly trained villains? Yes, he does. But here's the difference. This movie, the stakes are raised a little more higher. And not only that, the villains have different motivations as opposed to what the last movie was. Remember, the last movie, McClane was pretty much going up against professional thieves at the end of the day, who were posing as terrorists as a way to draw the attention, as a way to draw everyone off of him. In this movie, he's going up against highly trained military people, all right? He's going up against people that are highly trained, they are highly skilled, and they're not professional thieves. They're doing something else entirely. In this movie, McClane has to take on terrorists who are pretty much taking over this airport. And in addition to dealing with these terrorists, he has to deal with Dennis Farina's character, who's like this uptight police, captain. He has to contend with this military, commander who's up his ass. And in addition to going up against, Colonel Stewart, who was played by William Sadler, and to me, William Sadler is great in this movie. I love William Sadler. He's one of my favorite character actors. I love his portrayal as Colonel Stewart. He has that stoic, badass presence to him, and he's so assured of himself. He's just so cold, and it's he barely shows any emotion, which is great, because that's how I envision a colonel, a villainous colonel like him, just to be so stoic, so assured of themselves, and someone who won't even show the slightest bit of weakness. And you pretty much get that throughout the course of the movie. You get flashes here and there of him getting aggravated with McClane, but he still maintains that stoicness to him, and William Sadler pulls that off perfectly. I mentioned before he has to take on Dennis Farina's character, but that stuff with Dennis Farina is more for comedic. It's more comedic. And the bantering between Farina and Willis is hysterical. They throw fucking great insults at one another. I love, the first thing he says, one of the first things he says to Farina's character is, when the metal detectors go off, do they sense the, the lead in your ass or the shit in your brains? And he calls him a fat fuck. And you got Farina, who is all yeah, I know you hotshot. Your LAPD badge don't mean nothing here. So it's the bantering that at the course of the movie between Farina and Willis is hysterical. I also love the bantering between with John Amos' character, Major Grant, who's the military general. Once shit hits the fan, once the shit hits the fan, and Colonel Stewart takes over the airport and he causes one of the planes to crash, pretty much killing thousands of people inside the plane. And of course, it's a great scene, by the way, because we really see McClane try so hard to try and save those people in the plane, but he couldn't do it. He fails. And I love how this movie, and I always loved how the Die Hard movies show the failure of McClane. They show just how hard he tries to do what he needs to do, but ultimately it's just not enough. I love how these movies really do portray McClane as an everyday man who cannot do everything. He's not Stallone. He's not Schwarzenegger. He's a regular guy, and regular guys, they fail more than they triumph. And I always loved how the Die Hard movies were able to do that. They show how McClane tries, but in the end, he always couldn't just do it. It's great. It happened in the first movie where he couldn't save Ellis, and it happens in this movie where he couldn't save the people in the plane. It's great. It adds more depth and dimension to John McClane. And you really see the fire get lit under him where he's I'm going to kill these motherfuckers, They got my wife in one of those planes. That could have been my wife that could have crashed in that thing. And that just entices him even more to want to get to Colonel Stewart, and want to get to the general played by Franco Nero and take these motherfuckers down. which he eventually does in John McClane fashion. So yeah, this is a great movie. It's got a good story, got great acting in it. You know, the characters to me are very memorable. Like I said, Colonel Stewart is awesome. Franco Nero as General Esperanza. He doesn't have a whole lot of scenes, but I do like what was happening with him. I would have liked to see more stuff with him. I like the stuff with John Amos. A lot of the action set pieces in this movie are great. There's this really cool gunfight scene where McClane and one of the airport people go out to this Skywalker annex, and they pretty much get ambushed, and there's a good little gunfight going there. As I mentioned before, the whole scene where McClane tries to stop the crashing plane is great. There's this cool shootout at a church where we find out that pretty much find out that Hardy's men were using blank bullets, and it's also revealed later on that Major Grant is actually in cahoots with Colonel Stewart, because they established their former buddies. But we also find out that they were never enemies. It was all a ruse. So I kind of like that twist, that John Amos was really in cahoots with Stewart and the General, which is great. And it really just like encapsulates that antagonistic relationship he and McClane were developing. And it also before that twist, they were also getting a mutual respect between one another. And I love this the little exchange they have where Stewart's like, You're not that big of an asshole as I thought you were. And then Grant's like, I am. I'm just your kind of asshole. Love that dialogue exchange. Love it. The writing in this movie is great. That's one of those golden lines that is fucking always stay with me. You're not that big of an asshole as I thought you were. He's like, I am. I'm just your kind of asshole. Great line. And only Bruce Willis and John Amos can make a line like that, which can come off dull from other actors, but those two make that line hilarious. So yeah, and of course, you know, now something I forgot to mention in my first review. William Atherton, who people remember from Ghostbusters as Walter Peck, appears in both Die Hard movies, and I forgot to mention him in my first review, so I'm gonna put him in this one. He plays this guy called Thornburg, which is pretty much a TV reporter version of Walter Peck, just this sleazy asshole. And in the first movie, you know, he pretty much nearly put, you know, the McClane's family in danger by broadcasting the terrorist shit. And in this movie, he puts everyone in the airport in danger by promoting the terrorist shit. And he gets his fucking clocked clean by McClane's wife while in the airplane, because they're sharing the same airplane. So he's great. Atherton plays that good dick who you just want to see get his ass kicked. And in both times, Mrs. McClane knocks his ass out. It's great. I love William Atherton. He's a funny guy. And not only in Ghostbusters, but in both the Die Hard movies. So yeah, now listen, I can go on forever about Die Hard 2, but I'm going to stop it right here, because if you have not seen Die Hard 2, you owe it to yourself to rewatch it, because it is a very, very entertaining movie. At the end of the day, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And the reason why I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 is for two reasons. Honestly, I would have loved to have seen more of Sadler as Colonel Stewart, and I would have liked to have seen more of a character development as with Franco Nero as General Esperanza. I didn't feel like I got enough of those two. They're cool villains, but I would like to have seen a little more. And if I would have gotten maybe 2 more scenes with those two, maybe interacting with one another, this could have been a perfect 10. But because those two guys come across as a little underdeveloped in a way to me, takes off 1 point. But that's it. That's it. Because aside from that little flub, Die Hard 2 is great. Is it as good as the first? No. Does it stand on its own? Hell yes. And that's why I give it 9 out of 10. Anyway, I am AJ Legend. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.